BEEX project is a no-profit foundation about visual art and photography. If you want to help us, just drop a donation on buymeacoffee.com/BerlinExplorer. Okay, welcome to 50 Minutes of Experience. Today I'm with Hyun de Grande, and welcome Hyun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a really a pleasure for us to have you here. And so, as you know, we talk in this podcast about experience, philosophy, about our work as a photographer, not only, but especially what is the mind thinking of the people behind the camera, and also people involved in the work of photography in general. So just to start, can you introduce a bit yourself, explaining who are you, and what do you do exactly with the photography, and what is your passion about, when started that, and then we can go a bit more deeper when I know more details about you.
So my name is Hyun de Grande. I was born in '87 in Korea, actually, but then I was adopted to Belgium when I was 4 months old. So I've been living my whole life in Belgium, basically. And at the moment, my main profession is a cinematographer. So I work in the film industry. And I got into that because when I was around 16 years old, I discovered in school a study of film and photography. And that was basically my introduction to both art forms. And from the start, I was really fascinated by the two mediums. And since then, I just continued doing the visual arts. And I decided, after the studies, I decided to continue in film. And then I focused mainly on the cinematography side. But photography was more, until a couple of years ago, more like a hobby that I was doing just only from time to time. And whenever I had some spare time between projects. And it was 3 years ago that it grew more into like a bigger passion. Because at that moment, like my life was not super busy with projects. So I had more time to focus on other stuff. And I went back actually to photography because I wanted to maintain or keep training like my visual language. So that's why I put more effort or more energy in photography again. And street photography was just something that's really interested me from the beginning. And that basically grew from during the last 3 years, let's say. Yeah.
So I really like the scenes you created with your picture in general, are so cinematic, we can say, and that we can get the point that you work in cinematography, and yeah, it's a kind of a gallery of different scene of movies, and this is so nice. And I like a lot the dimension also of the color and the shapes you create in your scenes. Are so interesting, really. And I wanted to know that usually when you do it, these pictures, are you also filming part of these scenes with the video, or they are just a picture and that's it?
They are just pictures.
Okay.
So for me, the photography and cinematography is really divided.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing my photography, I just walk around in anywhere basically, and I grab my photo camera with me, and I'm mainly looking for like interesting settings based on lines, like architecture or shadows or just visually appealing scenes, let's say. And then it's basically just like waiting until I find the right subject to fit into the frame to take my pictures. But I never combine the two. So I never shoot video when I'm out taking photographs, or vice versa.
But in a way, you are influenced from the cinema, or in photography, or you are influenced by photography in the cinema, in the cinema, or yeah, both, they combine something in a way or another, the mixing that influence create in both of them something unique, and follow in a way your style, you can say, no?
Definitely, I think like my inspiration, they come from both photography and cinema. It's a combination of the two. For example, my photography specifically, I think you can see the
Yeah,
cinematic influences a little bit, just based on the fact that I'm focused on light, or um, also more like these shapes, or it's also like the frame itself. I shoot in a 2:1 aspect ratio, and I think that comes from my cinematography background also, which because I'm used to shooting more like in wider frames compared to like the photography standards of 3:2, for example. And I feel for me it's more like an aspect ratio or a format that I enjoy working in, that I also feel comfortable working in. And then specifically for the themes that I love exploring, like the like loneliness or isolation, I think it works very well for me, because you have a lot of like horizontal space that you can use um, to accentuate like emptiness in the frame. Um, so yeah, the wider aspect ratio, for example, and the use of light is definitely comes from my cinematography. Um, but it's a mixture of both. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was exploring your website, and I've seen the section of cinematography, but I would love to understand more what kind of position you were in all of these short movie, music, movie, and TV series. So usually you are not only a director, we can say, no. So I have seen in many of them there are different director names. So then, what is your position in these in every of these movies in general?
On all these projects, I'm the cinematographer. So those are all projects that I did as a cinematographer or director of photography, whatever you want to call it. So I work with different directors on different projects, also different kind of projects. I mainly try to focus on narrative, so like short films, feature films, TV series. But I also do commercials, music videos, documentary. So also there, it's a little bit of a mixture, which I enjoy because it's different, like different workflows or different ways of looking at things, or approaching the image, let's say,
Yeah,
um, which gives me like different kind of experiences, I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. I'm watching also in your section about in your website all the pictures where you are at work, and it's really, I'm really fascinated about that. I will love to see more in person that experience, also to understand better how it's composed, your daily life in when you are working on a movie. And yeah, because I can understand that you are not doing only one position, that you are checking also the cut of the scene, the light, the everything, the movement, and even sometimes you take the scene by yourself, no, instead of just watching and direct. No?
Yes, yes. But for me, there's also like the interesting part for me is that because of the difference photography and cinematography, it's because how different the approach is. I think for me it's really interesting because when I'm doing cinematography projects, then it's always a collaboration, of course, with the director and the whole crew, and you're making images together with other people. So you're also like sharing ideas and sharing inspiration. And um, photography is like totally it's a total individual process, and it's also more intuitive for me because it's just walking around, seeing something, taking a picture, uh, editing it myself, um, and then it's finished. Whereas with film, it's a longer process. You most of the time you spend a lot more time like preparing the shot or thinking about the concept or how you will shoot it. So it's a completely different way of creating these images. But also I love to have both of them.
Yeah, I like a lot that you combine that two different tools, two different kind of approach. In your photography, there are not really a lot of portrait. We can say they are portrait because they are portrait metaphorical of yourself and of the people walking in the street. But in your video, in general, yeah, that's required for sure in base of the project. That's required to doing a close-up portrait, and I see that wow, they are amazing. I mean, they are so high definition, and I'm really curious to see how well you work in photography during a movie. I mean, also I think in a way or another, if you direct a scene, so if you record a scene, uh,
Mhm.
in a way you are doing photography because you are applying your way to see the world in photography, and probably yeah will definitely come out work really interesting also in photography from a movie backstage, for example, or else like that. And I was also wondering to ask you, what do you think is not what do you think, but more what do you believe in what is the finalized part of your pictures? So then I've seen you sell your pictures frame print, but I'm really curious to know how do you see your picture in the future? What they can do it finally, what is their goal to be really alive in a world, in a possible world for yourself.
Well, the printing process was actually something that I started doing just recently, and which was a new discovery for me as well. And it also gives an extra layer to the images because the choice of material you print on, be it paper or in my case the Chromolux aluminum panels, they create totally different results because just because of how the colors react to the material, or how much reflection you have on the surface, or how the surface feels to the touch, and the contrast levels, they come out differently based on different prints. So that was a really interesting phase to learn more about. And I think for me that's the final process of the image. um, it's definitely not, the digital version is definitely not the final version. I think it's once it's printed, then the image has reached a final stage for me, because then people also the just the fact that people can actually grab it, can hold the picture, they can touch it if they want, and they can actually see it from different angles instead of just looking at it from a screen. Um, so I think, yeah, it's really nice to have that final stage, the physical final stage.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've seen also the example on your website, and it looks so really good. And I was also suggest to myself, I was just travel inside of my mind during I was watching your picture. That what do you think that the a final also part could be to expose your picture in a museum or a gallery, will be one stage interesting for you, or do you think I don't know, other support like books or also movie in this case? I was thinking, why not this kind of picture? You do it probably write it from a good soundtrack and a voice. So you know, a voice just tell a story would create probably an interesting movie scene, but just made by your frame, you know, without imaging, without these moving images, just the picture you have there and the stories, narrative stories told on these pictures called the compose, probably also an interesting short movie or a movie itself.
Who knows? Who knows? Because there's a movie that exists, famous movie based on still images. It's called La Jetée, from Chris Marker. I don't know which year it's from, but it's basically 15-minute short, composed only from still images with like sound and voiceovers and music. So it's a possible it's an idea. But as you say, also like exposing in, I'm sorry for the sound, by the way, from the streets.
It's okay. This
But
is the
as
soundtrack for our conversation.
but as you said, exposing in galleries or publishing in books is definitely also like an extra step above printing. Just because you make a selection of what pictures you, for example, in a book, like the order of the images you want people to see, and also during an exhibition, like what images will you put next to each other, what story do you create or can you create just by selecting which pictures, which also creates a new layer, I think. um, I've had one exhibition with a friend photographer of mine, and that was really an interesting part of the whole process, the selection, like which images will we choose and where will we hang each photograph, to have a certain flow or to have a certain balance in the space. And I think that really added to the content or the narrative of each shot, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've seen also this is last question. Then we can go on for our life, and yeah, for sure, probably I will ask you to doing another podcast in the future to know how is improved your way to shoot picture after I tell you that. But I don't know if you ever heard in some podcasts I did some challenge to some people, to
Mm-hmm.
some photographer. I said to them, I influenced a bit them with some ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love really to discover how and to see how do you approach it, the photography to the close-up portrait. I would love really to see how could be your work made in that way, because after I've seen some of this short movie you did, I think probably what you are doing is great, but it's not great as you can do it with telling story through the face of someone.
It's a different skill, for sure. I don't. I'm not really trained in taking portraits. It's and I really admire like a good portraits, and I see a lot of really good artists, for example, just on Instagram, who make excellent portraits. But I'm not sure if I would be good at it.
That's why it's a challenge, man.
It's yeah. It's true. It's true.
I,
Totally different. Yeah.
I'm looking forward if you accept this challenge from me. I am looking forward to see how we'll develop your way to take visual frames, still visual frames with portraits, because I'm really curious about that, and I think it's something also called push away, could push a bit your human being status. I mean, your picture talk a lot about you for sure, and I think and I feel that in a way talk a lot about the time with yourself, and also the silent, the research of this silent and this balance between the chaos and the calm, no? And in a way, I like that metaphor your picture create, that highlighting the scenes between the shadows is a constantly message inside of your picture. Even if we have picture made in the light doesn't take the whole space inside of your images. And I like that things that you divided the website between diurnal and nocturnal. But in this diurnal there is more nocturnal, and in nocturnal there is a research of the light, and in a way and also the way you cut the light, no, it's in a way to focus on a subject. It's always hidden from the, so it's the face is most of the time hidden, and the story you are telling, most of the picture you have doesn't talk about the character are there, but talk about yourself.
It's yeah. That's a great analysis, I think. And it's true that the diurnal and nocturnal categories, they definitely overlap into each other. But I find it interesting that you say that there is more light in the nocturnal and more dark in the diurnal parts of the photography.
Yes, it's
And
kind of when there is in diurnal, you're researching the character in the shadow. When it's nocturnal, you research the character in the light.
yes.
And it's I don't know, sounds to me in a way like that you figure out more yourself in the nocturnal than in the diurnal. And in the diurnal, probably, I don't know, I have this message from the picture is kind of probably I don't fit at all in the diurnal, but I'm there, and I'm analyzing also that. And in nocturnal, probably I found myself, because I can have more the right environment, the right status to highlight what I want to highlight for real.
Well, actually, I think for me, it's a similar process when I'm taking pictures at night versus by day. I don't think I have a different mindset for my diurnal shots versus the nocturnal shots. I think they just come out differently because of the setting, and they definitely have a different vibe, but it's not on purpose, I think. I don't know if I will let you down by saying this. Um, but in general, whether it's day or night, I'm always looking for the feelings of solitude, people somehow like feeling lost in their lives. Not if it's like that or not, I don't know, but like scenes that gives me those kind of feelings, which I project on to based from my own life probably. But that's the main thing that attracts me for a photograph, day and night.
Yeah, it's totally clear from your picture. I mean, as I told you, it's probably most of the things are totally unconscious, but during this vision of your picture, you can discover totally you practically. I discovered totally you, and this also extreme message of the solitude. It's probably the most inspirational part of yourself, and probably also the most cruel part of you. You know, sometimes we are in balance only holding our nightmare and our dream.
Yeah, it's true. But it's not bad to confront yourself with your darkest parts, no?
Yeah. It's totally the best part we can do it. I mean, it's best choice we can do it in our life. It's to understand what we are afraid about, understand our fear, and accepting them, accepting our problems, and let be this problem, let be these fears a power for us to doing something we like to do it.
Definitely. And I notice when I'm taking these photographs that it actually gives me peace of mind somehow when I'm working on these pictures, because it's about feelings that I know quite well myself, and just doing something with it creatively brings that balance back for me mentally. So it's what you say. It's definitely good to confront those things or to use them.
Yeah. So thank you a lot for your talk, Hyun, and was
Thank you so
nice,
much.
interesting. And if anyone want to see the work of Hyun, the Grande, can check the link in the description. And in any case, you can also comment this podcast with a vocal message that we can use in the next podcast. And thank you a lot again for your talk. It was nice to also meet you and see you in person. I would say, but it's not in virtual.
Yeah.
I hope, to you can in a way be influenced a bit from my challenge, and then in the future talking about also that experience you can do it in that field.
Sure, and thank you so much for having me. It was a really nice conversation to have, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Learn more about our project at allmylinks.com/BerlinExplorer, or visit our Instagram and follow BerlinExplorer project.